The one in the very center of the blue there is the one that's dying. The Ring Nebula is not only beautiful, but it's massive. It's 1 light year across, 5.88 trillion miles from one side to the other. And the star in the center is giving up its life. And as it does, it's shrugging off massive amounts of gas, hot blue at the center, a little bit cooler yellow, and then much cooler orange and red at the edges. And as it shrinks off this gas, it creates this glorious image. It's glorious in death. Listen, the heavens are telling the glory of God. And there is a great spiritual analogy here. Because this is a picture of what you and I look like when we decide to die to ourselves and live for the glory of God. That's spectacular, isn't it? I think this star shows how creative God is because, sometimes we tend to think that, we come up with all these great new ideas and, we think, oh, wow, this is a great new thing, a new discovery. But back in the 60s, the hippies started doing tie-dye. They thought it was revolutionary. God was probably up in heaven smiling, thinking, I was wondering when you were going to catch on to that. I tie-dyed the heavens a long time ago. I offer the Ring Nebula my experiment in tie-dye. Isn't that cool? Wow. God's cool. He's far out. He's groovy. It's okay to say that. He created that. Speaking of nebulas, if you pass the Ring Nebula and you go way out, 8,000 light years from Earth, you come to what's called the Hourglass Nebula, another dying star. Look at that. Don't you wish they all died? Except for ours, of course, right? Ours isn't going to die anytime soon. Don't freak out, kids. Scientists tell us that it's going to burn for another 4 billion years, so we're safe. Did your parents ever tell you when you were a little kid, you better be careful because God is watching you? Turns out they were right. The eye of God. I could just stare at that for a long time. When I look at this nebula, it says to me that God is creative. God is cutting edge. God's got it going on. He's not out of touch. He's not out of date. He's not boring. God's up there in heaven. He's going, I know, let's do one that looks like an eyeball. And he makes it, he goes, that's cool. Wait till they see this. Now think about this. God has been waiting for years for us to see this. Centuries are going by and God's going, come on, you guys got to build a bigger telescope if you want to see this cool thing. And you got to aim it this way and you got to get it focused. And can you imagine the day when someone discovered the Hourglass Nebula? God was probably up in heaven, high-fiving the angel, saying, man, I've been waiting for centuries for them to see this one. I knew that they would dig it when they saw it. 8,500 light years away, we see the superstar of the Milky Way galaxy. I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but I'm going to call it Eta Carina. It's not so much bigger than our sun, just more mass of energy than our sun. 100 times the mass of our sun. And check this out. Eta Carina is the most active star that scientists have seen. As you can see, it's shrugging off tremendous amounts of gas. And scientists love this star because over the last 100-year period, it's been making some massive changes, and that's unusual. But here's the most awesome thing about this star. I don't get this. It gives me a brain cramp to even think about it. They say that this star is 6 billion times brighter than our sun. 6 billion times brighter than our sun. Wow. That is beautiful. That's amazing. Stunning. Let's leave the Milky Way galaxy, our little cozy 100,000 light year wide home, and let's travel to our nearest neighboring galaxy. It's called the Small Magellanic Cloud. Kind of a weird name for a galaxy. It's 200,000 light years away. 200,000 times 5.88 trillion miles. This picture kind of looks like something you'd see in a heart specialist office, and the doctor would be pointing at it and say, Harv, you better cut back on the fried chicken. I'm seeing some clogged arteries there. Kind of what it looks like, isn't it? But it's an incubator of new stars. They say there are 50 stars in this incubator in this satellite galaxy called the Small Magellanic Cloud. And each one of the 50 stars, get this, each one of the 50 stars 300,000 times brighter than our sun. You see, we think we're all that. We think our sun is all that. But our sun is a pipsqueak compared to these stars. We think, wow, it's hot, you know, global warming. But our sun is just a teeny little dot of light among hundreds of thousands of billions of galaxies, of hundreds of thousands of dots of light, and many of them dwarf the brilliance and the brightness of the sun. Many of them are so bright that we can't even look at them with the naked eye. Let's go out a lot further. Say 28 million light years away. Now, as we look at some of these pictures, you might be thinking, why do these all look so different? Well, it's because we're seeing them from different angles. We're sitting about 6 degrees above the plane of this sombrero that we're looking at. So we're looking at it just above its edge. Now, it looks really thin and docile, but actually, it's trillions of miles thick. That little band that you see, 50,000 light years across. And inside of it, multiple solar systems, maybe some planets floating around them. Man, when I looked at that, if you're like me, I thought, I wonder if there are people in there. I wonder if people live there. I don't know. I don't have a clue. But if there are, they might be having a service over there today, and they might have a guy up on stage with a picture of the Milky Way galaxy up on the screen. They might be looking at it saying, I wonder if there are people there. Kind of a weird thought, isn't it? Hi. Just wave to them. Kind of stunning, isn't it? Let's go further out. 31 million light years away. And this is the darling of the astronomers. This one is called the Whirlpool Galaxy because it looks like it's sucking in that other little galaxy over there, that little white blob over there to the right. That's another whole galaxy. For a while, astronomers thought that the Whirlpool Galaxy, NGC 5194, was sort of adopting this other galaxy, which is numbered NGC 5195, of course. But as it turns out, NGC 5195, the one in the upper right-hand corner, is eons away from the Whirlpool Galaxy. They're nowhere near each other. They just appear that way in the photograph that's been taken. This is relatively a new photograph. It was taken by Hubble in January 2005. And astronomers and scientists love the Whirlpool Galaxy because we get to see it head on. We get to see it in all of its splendor and glory. It's got hundreds of billions of stars. All of those pink regions are star incubators where stars are being formed even today. And it's called, I love this, this is what it's called. It's called a grand design galaxy. A grand design galaxy. They got that one right, didn't they?